Welcome to my show, simply entitled Women Influencers. I am Veronica Malolas, CCIM, founder and CEO of Capstack Commercial, a commercial real estate company serving the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Tamika Moses. After attaining her master's in international real estate, she built Robinberg Realty, which she named after her mother. She is recognized as a leader in Miami commercial real estate, and I consider her to be a great model for her peers and community. She has a fantastic story to tell. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments, and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast. Hi, Tamika. How are you today?
Great, and yourself, Veronica. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, thank you. You are such a delight. And thank you so much for gracing our show today. If you don't mind, I just wanted to jump right in. So tell us how you grew up in your environment and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, so I grew up with both my mother and my father. I'm the only child for my mother. I have two stepsisters and one stepbrother. My mother was very active with me. So on the weekends, we would do a lot of shopping, go to different neighborhoods and everything. So really I was her baby doll because I was her only child. So I had a wonderful time growing up with both of my parents. My father was the fun father. When the youth fair came around at Miami-Dade County, we would go to the youth fair. Our summer vacations was at Walt Disney World. I got my love for sports from my father. So I could sit there and watch all the NFL games, all of the baseball games, all the basketball games. And people like, you really like sports. Yes, I was a big sports lover. And I always tell people with the shopping and the home designing and loving homes and stuff, I got that part from my mother. That's the part I got from her. So I say I got equal parts from both my parents.
So awesome. That's so awesome. So you went to college.
Yes. I started at Florida A&M University right in Tallahassee, Florida. They're playing the University of Miami this weekend. And then after a few years, I transferred back home at Florida Atlantic University. So my initial major in college was broadcast journalism.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So my goal was to be an ESPN sportscaster.
So wait a minute. You did love sports that much. Wow.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, that was my goal, was to become an ESPN sportscaster. But when I transferred home, during that time, that's when the market here in South Florida was booming. And that happened back in 1999, 2000, and it was just booming. So the new developments and the new buildings that were coming up, I would go and visit those new home sales with my mother every weekend. I'm just like, wow, this is exciting because, you're coming back and forth from Tallahassee to Miami, and you're now seeing all of these new developments popping up. You're seeing all these new homes popping up. And I'm like, that used to be the cow pastures. Well, all of a sudden, I'm just doing all this developing, but it was hot. It was a hot thing. And I said, should I go into real estate? I don't know. There's something about this. I think I might go into real estate. So when I was at Florida Atlantic University, I actually took the pre-licensing courses at Florida Atlantic University. I graduated from Florida Atlantic University, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go into newscasting and everything, but there were no jobs available. But there were plenty of jobs in the real estate industry. So eventually I became a mortgage loan officer, and I did that for about several years, and I enjoyed it. I was started on the residential side. I enjoyed helping smaller investors. I enjoyed helping first-time home buyers, second home buyers. So it was a really, really, really fun time. You're making all this money, but at the same time, you're seeing how Miami is booming. I mean, every time you looked on the news, any and everything was about real estate, the real estate market, and real estate market, and real estate market.
Oh, yes. I remember those years.
Yes. So here comes fast forward 2008 and the market crashes. So you're like, wait a minute, the income has stopped. The properties that you're owning now going into foreclosure. All these things are compounding at the same time. And it was a lot. It was a very difficult choice for me whether or not I wanted to stay in the industry or completely leave the industry, because I found out the following year my mother had developed breast cancer. She had stage 4 breast cancer in 2009.
Oh,
So
I'm
she,
sorry to hear
yes,
that.
thank you. So she was like, well, I mean, if you love it so much, why don't you continue on? So lo and behold, Bank of America, that's when all the banks started doing loan modifications. I've learned how to do loan modifications at Bank of America. So I worked at Bank of America for about 2.5 years at the same time, still caring for my mother with breast cancer. So that was like, I'm still in the real estate industry, but now my eyes are being open up to so many different aspects in the real estate world. Because it's like, wait a minute, I don't know nothing about loan modifications. Well, the bank did, but now they had to speed people up because it's either they want to foreclose or these people want to keep their home. A lot of people did want to keep their home at that time.
Sure, sure. And
Yes.
and was this about the time that you entered your master's program?
I entered my master's program in 2014. So my mom passed away in 2013 from breast cancer. So it was like a couple of things that was kind of holding me back from doing certain things. So when she passed away, it was just like, okay, I know that she's with God and everything. She's resting and everything. And she told me, and before she passed away, she said, don't give up. She said, keep going. Don't give up. I want you to do anything. Don't give up. And so I wound up getting my real estate license in late 2011. And I started utilizing my license in 2013, right after she passed away. And the following year, I was looking at something on the internet and FIU's program just popped up. You know how they have the banner advertisements.
Yeah.
So I did. I went to the open house, and I'm like, okay, I like this or whatever. I went and applied, and next thing you know, I got accepted to the program. So my first night in the class, my brain is telling me, because we had those little voices who would trick you. This is not for you, because the professor said, look to your left, look to your right, because somebody in this classroom is not going to be sitting here the next 8 weeks. So I'm like, oh God, is it going? Because now I'm catapulted from residential real estate into commercial real estate. And at the end of the first semester, I was like, whoa, I'm in the top 5%. So this is exciting. Now I'm seeing more and more doors opening and more opportunities on the commercial real estate side. So I graduated from the program in 2015 with my cohort. To this day, we still get together and still at least twice a year, have dinner, share ideas with each one of those, each one of my classmates. A lot of them are very successful right now, and it's great for all of us to get together. But yes, I went into there and I graduated with that program in 2015, and I will say I really started getting serious about commercial real estate in 2017.
And wasn't that about the time that you established your own brokerage and named your company after your mom? Oh,
yes,
wonderful! Tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I named my company Robin Bird Realty. So when I was thinking of a company name, it was just something I didn't want to name it Moses Realty. I didn't know how people say. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that. But a red Robin Bird just kept on popping up in my head. Robin Bird, Robin Bird, Robin Bird. So I went and looked it up, and it says and to see what it meant, because I always want to know what something means. Because if this word keeps popping up, these two words kept on popping up in my head, and it means passion, renewal, and strength. And I know I'm passionate about real estate. It's new beginnings of everything. So I just went with that name, and I had my attorney trademark it for me. So everyone knows now when they see that red bird, that's Robin Bird. That's Robin Bird, because it was such a unique name.
Great. And is your mom's name Robin?
Yes, her first name is Robin.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes, her first name is Robin.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about challenges, because I know that we talked a little bit about your challenges, my challenges, but talk about one that you overcame.
I think overcoming that challenge is going into transitioning from residential real estate into commercial real estate. That challenge, because now you're dealing with a different demographic, people who have been in the business for 30 and 40 years. They've already have a book of business, and here you are. It's like you're a newbie and you don't know anyone. So, but you have to get out there and establish yourself. So what I would do is I would find people who were in the business, and just call and ask them questions. Hey, can we go to coffee? Can we do this? At the time when I got serious before I opened up my brokerage, in the office I was working in, I would try to just go, I would go into the offices and knew who the commercial brokers were. And I would just ask them questions. I would say, hey, what is this? What is that? Or whatever, look at the properties. And one thing I always tell people, I get in the car and I drive around. So I got my first commercial client, I would think probably a month or two after I opened up my brokerage. So, you just have to keep on going and going and going. That's just how I got into the real estate business of doing mortgages back in 2003. My first employer sat me down at the computer, say, this is your desk, this is the 1003, good luck. So I was like, wait, that's it? So it was a really deep learning curve, and it was very challenging because you have some brokers in the commercial world like, if you haven't started off doing this, I don't want to work with you. But there were a few that actually took and held my hand and said, okay, then this is what you do with the LOI. This is what you do with this, whatever. This is how you check for the zoning. This is how you do this. And that was a really big thing. So I always stress the new brokers, ask questions. I say, because it may be a challenge, but ask questions. You will find that one person say, come here, let me hold your hand, sit you down. Let me explain to you what this is.
Yes, the power of asking. Let me tell you, it is really just put yourself out there and you'll be surprised at how many people come to your rescue. Well, I wanted to ask you about influence, if you don't mind. I know that you've been sort of, for me, I look at you as a model for so many other people because you put yourself out there and you're in leadership positions. So if there was one outcome that you've influenced that you're most proud of, what would that be?
I think when I entered in leadership on the Miami Commercial Board, I was the first person of color on the Miami Commercial Board, and that was a huge step because I used to go to the commercial marketplaces for like 2 years before I even learned about a commercial board. And that the chief of commercial at that time, he was saying something about an application for the board, and I'm like, what is this board app? What is this board you're talking about? He said, just apply. Just apply and let's just see what happens. He asked me a little bit about my background. I told him I had my master's and everything. Just apply. And then when I applied for leadership, and lo and behold, a month later, they emailed me saying I got on the board. So here I am, this little person walking in the room, and I'm with these seasoned veterans in the room who's been in the business for over 25, 30 years or whatever, but they embraced me. So that was really breaking down a barrier. So that's something I really, I'm really proud of. And it also encouraged others who look like me to start applying for the commercial board. So now we have more of a diverse board, and we're going to continue on that trend. So that is one thing I'm very proud of.
Oh, that's amazing. I really think of you as a model for other people. So congratulations. That was fantastic. Well, let me ask you, Tamika, if there was one piece of advice you could give to our audience, what would that be?
Don't second guess yourself. Don't second guess yourself. Sometimes we don't want to hear, our gut instincts always tell us the right thing, and we always listen to someone else. And you always had a little voice in your head and telling you something. I always tell people, don't second guess yourself. My best career moves has always been when I don't second guess myself and I just go for it instead of sitting there and overthinking it. So I just tell people, don't second guess it. Just if the feeling is hitting, go for it. Go for it, because that's gonna be your best thing that you're gonna ever do for your business and for your business in your career.
That's absolutely right. And I agree with you, because a lot of times we are our own sort of barrier, right? We create these barriers for ourselves, and we always convince ourselves that maybe that's not the right course for us, right? But if you just power through, you just never know what might happen. And maybe it is not right for you, but hey, you'll find out.
Exactly. I'm like, listen, at this point, just take the chance. I tell people all the time, we will talk ourselves out of the opportunity. I say we would actually, because we'll sit there and say, am I really qualified for that? I don't know. What should I do? And I'm like, somebody else may run behind you. If you don't want to do it, get out the way. I'll do it. And you have to know that you are more than qualified to do it. So I always tell people, do not second guess yourself.
What's funny is that I've read somewhere that men actually just go and apply even if they're not qualified.
Yeah.
I mean, that's never second guessing themselves. But I don't know, that's a male thing. And I'm glad that there are women like you and me, of course,
Yes.
that just power through. So that's amazing. Great, great,
Yes.
great advice. I think we've come to the part of the interview where you get to ask me a question. So
Exactly.
go ahead.
So you've had such a profound career. You talk about looking at me. I look at you of what the things that you're doing, especially at the on NAR on our national platform for commercial real estate. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to ask you, what are some of the challenges that you have overcome as well? What is one challenge that really sticks out to you?
Well, and thank you for that question, Tamika. Well, I've said this several times on this show that I'm an immigrant from the Philippines.
Mhm.
And there are three layers of challenges, really, as an immigrant for me, right? I'm an immigrant, I'm a woman, and I'm a woman of color. And I'll talk a little bit about the challenge of being an immigrant more than being a woman and a woman of color, because I grew up in the Philippines and went to university there. And of course, my whole cohort there now, many years later, are very influential, very powerful. They're very successful over there. And I had to leave that cohort.
Oh,
And you
wow.
know what happens when you have a network of powerful people, right?
Mhm.
They're the ones who can help you actually be catapulted, right, to
Yes.
success. But I left all that and I came to a country where I didn't know anybody and nobody really knew me. So
Mhm.
that was really a very big, and I'm sure that most of the immigrants who probably are listening would probably say, yeah, that's right. That's the hard thing about moving from one place to another. And it doesn't really have to be just an immigrant. I mean, if you move from one state to another, sometimes those same challenges really just are in front of you.
Yep.
And I think that when you have no choice but to rebuild is when you actually just create or start to find a little bit more passion and focus
Yes.
because you have no choice. You have to.
You have no
It-
choice.
You have no choice. And I am blessed because I was also a part of leadership. And frankly, the realtor board actually is the one that welcomed me and encouraged me and really motivated me to keep going. And I found commercial real estate and through the CCIM organization, and of course also NAR, I really just found my place
Yes.
again. And so I thank you for that question. And Tamika, let me tell you, you are someone that I admire. And I
Yeah.
truly want to thank you for being here in our show. And I'm quite sure our listeners have been inspired by you. So, do you have any parting words for our audience?
Like I said before, do not second guess yourself. Uh, Listen to your gut. I always tell people, have faith, be confident in what you're doing. When you think you're not when you think you're not qualified, you are more than qualified. Always be confident, but also be humble. You can be humble and confident at the same time, and just go for it. Just go for it without any second guessing yourself. Just go for it. That could be the best decision you've ever made for your life.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Tamika. This was
Thank you so much for
such a
having me.
pleasure to have you on the show. And I wish you all the very best. I'm quite sure that we're going to run into each other very, very soon here.
Of
All
course,
right.
of course. Thank you for having me.